Nick was still inside her when my 14-year-old daughter screamed. That's the moment everything snapped, the illusion, the trust, the years of pretending. Madison, my wife of 17 years, was on the living room couch, straddling her boss like some sleazy college affair, moaning like we didn't have a family. She had no idea our daughter had walked in. No idea those wide, terrified eyes had just watched her mom become someone else, someone unrecognizable. And that's the thing. It wasn't just betrayal. It was violation. Of our home. Our family. Everything. Emily froze for a split second, then grabbed a photo frame off the shelf and hurled it toward the wall. It shattered into pieces, just like whatever was left of her childhood. Madison finally turned around. And you know what she said? Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "This isn't what it looks like." No. She laughed. "Oh my God! Emily, what the hell are you doing home?" Nick stumbled off the couch, fumbling with his pants like some schoolboy who got caught. He looked like a deer in headlights. Emily didn't care. She stormed out, her voice shaking as she yelled, "I'm calling Dad." And she did. When I got the call, I thought maybe she was being dramatic. Teenagers can exaggerate. But I heard her crying, really crying, and I knew. Something horrible had happened. By the time I reached the house, everything was chaos. Madison was pacing the hallway in a robe, pretending like she had control of the situation. She was fuming, not because she got caught, but because her moment was ruined. Nick? Gone. Apparently limped out the back door. I later found out he dislocated his knee trying to pull his pants up and escape. Good. I hope it hurt. I hope it still hurts. Emily was locked in her room, refusing to look at her mother. I walked in and asked one thing. Was it true? Madison rolled her eyes. Oh, please. Like you've been Prince Charming lately. That's when I knew. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't weakness or confusion. This was her. The real her. Cold. Shameless. Manipulative. She crossed her arms, smirked, and said, "We're adults. Things get stale. People need excitement. I didn't do anything you wouldn't have done eventually." I couldn't believe it. She was standing there in our hallway, where we used to hang birthday banners for Emily, defending her affair like it was overdue laundry. I should have been angry. I should have shouted. But I didn't. I stood there, numb. Hollow. Because the betrayal didn't start with the cheating. It started with the way she looked at me, as if I was stupid for not seeing it sooner. "I gave you everything," I finally said. She shrugged. And maybe that was the problem. Those words? That tone? That was the moment something inside me changed. I knew there was no fixing this. No coming back. This wasn't just about infidelity. It was about who she really was. I didn't fight. I didn't scream. I simply turned and walked toward Emily's room, knocked gently, and whispered, "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." I held my daughter that night like it was the only thing left holding me together. And as I stared at the ceiling, listening to Madison clanking wine glasses in the kitchen like nothing had happened, I knew one thing. This wasn't over. She thought she ended something. But all she did was start a war. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I couldn't. Because I wouldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that moment, my little girl, frozen in the doorway, watching her own mother destroy everything we built. That image branded itself into my skull. Madison, on the other hand, slept like a rock. No guilt. No apology. She poured herself a glass of wine, turned on Netflix, and curled up like she just finished yoga, not like she shattered a family. The woman I married was gone, if she ever existed at all. In her place stood someone cold, selfish, and proud of what she did. In the morning, she acted like nothing happened. "You want eggs?" she asked, like we were just two people on a Sunday morning, not enemies at war. I didn't answer. I walked past her and made coffee. My hands were shaking, but my mind was focused. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to cry. She didn't deserve that. I was going to be quiet. Strategic. I had something she didn't expect. Patience. She thought she had power, thought she could cheat, lie, and manipulate her way through it all. But she made a mistake. She forgot I was a father. And a father doesn't fold when his daughter's heart is on the line. While Emily stayed at my sister's for the weekend, I started planning. Not revenge for my pride. This wasn't about ego. This was about justice. For my daughter. For the years stolen. For the lies. I checked our shared Google account. Guess what? She never signed out. Photos. Messages. Locations. Bank transfers. All there. Turns out, Nick had been sending her money. Not just gifts. Money. She was using my house to run a side hustle as someone's fantasy. She was selling more than her dignity. I screenshotted everything. I made backups. I kept my face blank while she walked past me in leggings and smirked like she had the upper hand. She didn't know I had receipts. She didn't know I was building a case, piece by piece. When I confronted her 2 nights later, I didn't raise my voice. I just sat at the kitchen table with her phone, her photos, and her lies all laid out in front of me. "What is this?" I asked. She didn't even flinch. "Evidence of me finding happiness," she said. "You want a medal for snooping?" That's when I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was insane. She didn't deny it. She didn't beg. She mocked me. "You're sick," I said. "And you're boring," she shot back. Her words didn't sting. Not anymore. Because in that moment, she revealed something important. She didn't feel guilt because she didn't think she had to. To her, loyalty was optional. Love was negotiable. And family? Just another stage to perform on. So I stood up, looked her dead in the eyes, and said, "I hope you enjoyed your little fantasy. Because I'm about to bring reality crashing down on both of you." She laughed, thinking it was just a tantrum. She didn't know I'd already met with a lawyer. She didn't know I already pulled the bank statements. She didn't know I had the footage, the security cam she forgot about in the living room. She didn't know I was going to show Emily everything, not to traumatize her, but to prove that none of this was her fault. And she definitely didn't know that I had spoken to Nick's wife. Yep. He was married too. And the storm I was about to unleash? It wasn't just mine anymore. This wasn't going to be a messy divorce. This was going to be a reckoning. Nick had no idea what was coming. Neither did Madison. See, betrayal isn't just about hurting someone, it's about thinking you're untouchable while you do it. That smugness? That's what makes revenge taste so damn good. The night after our confrontation, Madison had the audacity to leave for a girls' dinner. I didn't even respond. I just nodded, knowing full well she was heading straight into Nick's arms, probably laughing about how calm I was acting. She thought she'd won. That she could juggle 2 lives forever. While she was out sipping cocktails and doing God knows what, I dialed the number I found in a photo from her phone, Nick's emergency contact. His wife's name was Brianna. Sweet-looking woman, 2 kids from what I could tell. I had no idea how much she knew. Maybe she was like me, distracted, trusting, trying to keep everything together. Or maybe she knew, and she just didn't want to face it. But I had to try. She answered, and I kept it calm. "Hi. You don't know me, but I think we need to talk. It's about your husband, Nick. My name is Ryan. He's been having an affair. With my wife." Silence. I could hear the air leave her lungs. For a moment, I thought she might hang up. Then, in the steadiest voice I've ever heard from someone clearly holding back a scream, she said, "Tell me everything." So I did. I sent her the screenshots, the bank transfers, even a screen recording of Madison whispering disgusting things to Nick over text, things I never heard her say once in our marriage. Things that made me sick. Brianna didn't cry. She didn't scream. She thanked me. Then she said something I'll never forget. "You want to ruin them, Ryan? I'm in." I didn't plan on making this a team effort, but suddenly, I had an ally, someone just as betrayed, just as pissed, and just as motivated to tear down the fake world our spouses had built. Over the next week, Brianna and I coordinated everything like a war room operation. We were careful. Strategic. Precise. She filed for separation without warning. She froze their joint accounts. She even booked a full medical exam to test for STDs, just in case. Because if Madison was being reckless with Nick, there was no telling what lines they had crossed. Meanwhile, I met with my lawyer again and initiated the pre-divorce discovery phase. That's when things started falling apart for Madison. She noticed the joint credit card was locked. Her texts with Nick turned cold, probably because he was dealing with Brianna moving out and taking the kids. Madison thought she could just pivot and charm her way back into stability. She tried acting like a good wife again, cooking, fake smiling, touching my arm like she forgot the last 6 months of betrayal. But I wasn't playing along anymore. "Ryan," she said one morning, "I feel like we've both made mistakes. Maybe this was a wake-up call, you know. Maybe we should try again. For Emily." I stared at her. And smiled. Because in 48 hours she'd get the court summons. Because in 48 hours, Nick would get fired. Brianna sent everything to HR. Because in 48 hours, I'd release the living room footage directly to my attorney, and to Emily's therapist, who was preparing to help her unpack everything. Madison thought she was surviving. She didn't know she was sinking. And the best part? She'd learned the truth publicly. Because I wasn't the only one who knew now. Madison had no clue the storm was already halfway through her house. She waltzed around the kitchen the morning of the summons like she was the queen of a kingdom she still thought was standing. French pressed coffee, that same smug smile, leggings tight enough to distract, and a good morning, like none of this was real. But it was real. And the papers were already printed, signed, sealed, and being hand-delivered to her by noon. I sat at the dining table, watching her hum to herself while chopping strawberries, pretending to be domestic. The kind of woman who'd post a photo of this fake piece on Instagram with some caption like, "Grateful Mornings," while hiding the fact that she was screwing her boss behind her teenage daughter's back. When the doorbell rang, she didn't even flinch. "Can you get that, babe?" Babe. The nerve. I stood, walked slowly to the door, and opened it to the courier. "Madison Taylor?" the man asked. She turned from the counter, confused. "Yeah?" He handed her the envelope and walked away. She stared at it like it was a prank, then looked at me. "What the hell is this?" I didn't answer. She ripped it open and started reading. By page 2, her expression changed. The color drained from her face. That fake piece shattered like glass hitting tile. "You're divorcing me? You're actually doing this?" "No," I said, calm as ever. "I already did it. You're just now reading about it." She exploded. "What happened to trying? What happened to family?" she shrieked. Now she cared about family? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't say half of what I wanted to. Because nothing I could say would hurt her more than her own reflection. "You chose this," I said. "You chose him. You chose every lie, every night out, every time you ignored Emily's calls while you were busy playing fantasy." She looked stunned, like I'd slapped her. Good. Maybe that would finally hit harder than the truth ever did before. And then it happened. She cried. Not the kind of tears that come from guilt. No, these were panic tears. Tears from losing control. She wasn't sad because she lost me, she was furious because she lost her grip. "I made a mistake, okay?" she shouted. "One mistake! One?" I laughed. "You made a lifestyle out of it." She stood there frozen, looking for some defense, some angle to manipulate, but there was nothing left to weaponize. Emily wasn't here to guilt me. Nick wasn't here to back her up. And now, she couldn't even use money to threaten me, because I already froze our accounts, with legal grounds. And the kicker? She had no idea that Brianna was doing the same thing to Nick, at the exact same time. That afternoon, while Madison stewed in her shock, Brianna sent me a photo. Nick. Sitting on the curb. Bags beside him. Red in the face. Alone. Her caption? "Your move." It hit me then, how poetic it all was. These two people who thought they were winning, now reduced to nothing but broken chess pieces, scattered by the same game they created. Later that night, Madison tried one last time. Sat on the edge of the bed in silence, waiting for me to say something. Maybe apologize. Maybe beg her to stay. But all I said was, "You'll be out of this house in 14 days. I suggest you spend them wisely." She didn't argue. She finally knew, The show was over. The audience was gone. And the consequences? Just beginning. The next day, Madison did something I didn't expect. She tried to play the victim. By noon, she had already posted some half-baked sob story on Instagram. A black and white photo of our wedding day, captioned with, "Not all love stories have happy endings. Please respect our privacy during this difficult time. Broken heart." Privacy? She destroyed that the moment she brought another man into our home. But now, when she was the one losing control, suddenly she wanted sympathy. Pathetic. But here's the thing, comments were turned off. Because she knew people would tear her apart. And they did. Word was already spreading. Thanks to Brianna's very public post, complete with a blurred-out shot of Nick walking out of their house with luggage and the caption, "Cheaters don't get homes. They get sidewalks." The story was circulating in their social circles fast. Fast enough that it reached Madison's boss. Yeah. That's right. Nick didn't just get fired. Madison got suspended. Turns out, the company didn't like that one of their married senior employees was hosting after-hours meetings in her own living room with another married staff member. Especially not when the other staff member's wife sent video proof to the board. When Madison got the email, she went full-blown meltdown. "This is harassment," she shouted, pacing in the kitchen. "You're ruining my life." I was on the couch, sipping coffee, watching calmly like it was morning news. "You ruined your own life," I said. "I'm just not covering for you anymore." She tried to storm out, but the reality hit hard. There was nowhere to go. Brianna had cut off Nick. Her own family was disgusted. Her friends had either ghosted or quietly started blocking her. She wasn't the main character anymore. She was the scandal. A few nights later, while packing boxes for her mandatory move out, she finally snapped. "This is your fault," she hissed. "You let this marriage rot. You were boring. You were predictable. You treated me like I was just your wife." I stood up and got in her face. "No. I treated you like my partner. Like the mother of my child. Like someone I trusted. And you spit on that. You spit on Emily. Don't you dare spin this." She blinked like she didn't expect fire from me. Like she thought I'd still be that guy, soft, forgiving, desperate. Not anymore. "You know what's crazy?" I added. "If you had just come to me and said you weren't happy, I probably would have tried to fix it. We could have gone to therapy. We could have talked. But you didn't want honesty. You wanted drama. You wanted excitement. So now you've got it." Her jaw clenched. No words left. Just silence. And then, the final humiliation. That weekend, I held a garage sale. Real subtle. Real quiet. Except every single neighbor came by. Not because they wanted to buy stuff. Because they wanted to see. Madison was out front, arms crossed, sunglasses on, pretending not to care while I sold off half the furniture she once bragged about handpicking. For our forever home. Someone even offered to buy the wedding photo canvas. I sold it for $5. She left the same night. No hugs. No goodbye to Emily. Just slammed doors, rubber tires, and a bitter silence in her wake. And as I stood on the porch watching her drive off into the dark, one thing became crystal clear. This wasn't just revenge. This was freedom. The night Madison drove off, the house finally felt quiet, but not in a peaceful way. It was the kind of quiet that follows a storm, where everything looks intact on the outside but underneath, it's all broken. I sat at the edge of Emily's bed, watching her stare blankly at the ceiling. She hadn't said much in days. Not since that afternoon. Not since that moment she walked into the living room and saw her world collapse. "Emily," I said softly, "do you want to talk about it?" She didn't answer at first. Just pulled the blanket tighter. Then, finally, her voice came out, small, angry, tired. She didn't even say goodbye. That hit hard. Because she was right. Madison packed her things, cursed me out a few more times, and drove away like she was escaping some prison. No hug. No explanation. No attempt to comfort the daughter she betrayed. And maybe that was the moment that broke Emily more than anything else. "Was she always like that?" she asked. I hesitated. That's a question no parent wants to answer. You want to protect your kid's image of the other parent. You want to hold on to the idea that maybe they were once good. That the love was real. But lies had already done enough damage. She changed, I said. Or maybe I just didn't want to see who she really was. Emily nodded slowly. Her lips trembled. I thought she loved us. She loves herself, I said. And maybe in her own way she tried. But love without loyalty? That's not real. Then, without warning, Emily burst into tears. And I held her. Tightly. Like I was holding together the last pieces of what Madison shattered. I should have stopped her. She sobbed. I should have. Hey, I said firmly, pulling her back. This isn't your fault. Not 1 second of this. She made her choices. You just saw the truth before I did. That night, I promised her 2 things. She'd never be lied to again. No matter what happened between her mom and me, she would always come first. The next few weeks were rough. Madison tried to spin her story everywhere, telling friends, coworkers, even some of Emily's teachers that I was controlling, that I'd pushed her away. But people weren't buying it. Because the truth has weight. And once it starts rolling, no lie can hold it back. Emily started therapy. Voluntarily. She said she needed to understand why someone who was supposed to protect her chose to humiliate her instead. I supported her 100%. Meanwhile, I rebuilt what Madison tried to destroy. I changed the locks. Repainted the walls. Removed every last photo of her. I even replaced the couch, that couch, because no part of me could sit on it again knowing what she did there. Then came the letter. It was handwritten. That surprised me. Madison had always been more of a text you after a fight kind of woman. But there it was, in blue ink. Ryan, I made mistakes. But you humiliated me. You weaponized our daughter. You turned everyone against me. You didn't have to do that. You could have just let me go. Now I've lost everything. I hope it was worth it. I folded the letter in half, dropped it in the trash, and said aloud to an empty room. It was. Because I didn't just let her go. I freed myself. And I was finally becoming the father my daughter deserved, without the shadow of betrayal looming over us. I should have known Madison wouldn't stay gone. 2 months passed. 2 full months of silence, healing, and rebuilding. Emily was laughing again. The house felt lighter. We'd eat dinner without tension. No wine-fueled eye rolls from the other side of the table. Just peace. Then came the knock. I opened the door, and there she was, Madison. No makeup. Hair in a messy bun. The confident smirk she always wore? Gone. She looked smaller somehow, like the world had chewed her up and spit her out in pieces. She didn't say hi. She didn't even blink. I have nowhere to go, she said. I stood there, expressionless. If she expected sympathy, she came to the wrong address. That sounds like a you problem, I said. Her eyes started to well up. She reached into her purse and handed me another letter, this one shaking in her fingers. I've lost everything, Ryan. My job. Nick left me. I'm staying in a motel off the freeway. I've been eating gas station food. Please, just let me stay in the guest room, just until I find something else. I opened the letter right there. It was a rambling mix of excuses, half apologies, and desperate promises. She said she made a mistake, that Nick turned out to be a manipulative mess who blamed her for everything. That he dumped her 2 weeks after losing his job. That she was punished enough. I folded it slowly and handed it back. You weren't punished, I said. You faced consequences. That's different. She started crying, real ugly crying, clutching her stomach like the guilt was physically eating her from the inside. I miss my daughter, she sobbed. Please. I'll do anything. Just let me see her. And that's the first time I wavered. Because for all the hate I carried, Emily was still her daughter. And whether I liked it or not, that biological bond still existed. But I had learned something over those months, boundaries. So I told her straight. You can see her. But not here. Not unsupervised. Not uninvited. I'll talk to her. If she wants to meet you, we'll set up a time and place. But you don't get to drop in anymore. This isn't your home. Madison looked like I'd punched her. You're punishing me, she whispered. No, I replied. I'm protecting us. And then I closed the door. That evening, I sat with Emily and told her everything. No sugarcoating. She's back? Emily asked, wide-eyed. Yeah. But only for herself. Emily didn't speak for a long time. She just stared at her dinner plate, pushing food around with her fork. Finally, she asked, Do I have to see her? No, I said. Only if you want to. She nodded, lips pressed together. Good. Because I'm not ready. That was all I needed to hear. I messaged Madison the next day, Emily isn't ready. I'll let you know if or when that changes. She left me on read. A week later, I found out she had moved back in with her parents. And she'd started posting online again, filtered selfies with captions like, Strong women rise from the ashes. Ashes she made herself. I didn't respond. Didn't engage. Let her pretend. Let her build her story around whatever scraps of dignity she thought she had left. Because I wasn't part of her script anymore. This was Emily's story now. My story? A father rebuilding from ruins. A daughter learning what love should really look like. And Madison? She was just a footnote. 6 months. That's how long it took to truly rebuild the life Madison tried to destroy. 6 months of therapy sessions, hard talks with Emily, nights spent pacing the living room in silence, just feeling. The pain. The anger. The disappointment. Letting it run through me instead of bottling it up like I used to. But somewhere between the chaos and the quiet, healing happened. Not suddenly. Not like a light switch. More like a sunrise, slow, steady, undeniable. Madison didn't change. She tried to, in front of the right people. New Instagram posts with inspirational quotes. A blog about navigating personal growth after betrayal. As if she had been the one betrayed. She started seeing some new guy, some personal trainer who probably had no clue what kind of mess he was stepping into. But the best part? I didn't care. I stopped checking her socials. Stopped wondering what she was doing. The power she once had, the power to twist my thoughts, to keep me awake at night, vanished. Because I had something stronger now. Clarity. And Emily? She bloomed. Straight A's. More confident. Laughing louder, walking taller. That broken look she carried after the incident? Gone. Her therapist said it best. She's not avoiding the past. She's overcome it. One afternoon, while we were walking back from a movie night, Emily asked something I didn't expect. Do you ever miss her? I took a long breath before answering. I miss who I thought she was. But the person she became? No. I don't miss her at all. Emily nodded. She understood. She didn't need a fairy tale ending. She just needed honesty. And I finally had that to give. A month later, I got the finalized divorce decree in the mail. No drama. No battle. Madison didn't fight it. She signed and walked away. Included with the paperwork was a typed note from her lawyer. Just 3 lines. Ryan, I'm sorry it ended this way. Maybe one day you'll forgive me. Tell Emily I love her. I didn't respond. Because forgiveness isn't something you owe to someone who burned the bridge while you were still standing on it. It's something you give yourself, when you're ready. And I was finally ready. To move on. To start over. To live without lies. I renovated the living room, new furniture, new paint, new energy. I let Emily choose the color. She picked sky blue. It makes me feel lighter, she said. And it did. For both of us. We started new traditions. Pizza Fridays. Saturday hikes. Sunday pancakes. Small things. But they mattered. Because they were ours. No ghosts in the corners. No second guesses. Just the two of us, building a future. Sometimes people think betrayal is the end of the world. That you'll never recover. Never trust again. But I learned something different. Betrayal isn't the end. It's the beginning. Of truth. Of clarity. of rediscovering who you are when the mask finally falls off the person who was wearing one all along. So if someone out there is watching this, stuck in that nightmare, thinking it's too late to fix the damage, too late to protect your kid, too late to stand up and say, enough, here's your sign. You don't need to save a sinking ship. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is swim for shore.